Just want to give you an update on what's going on in the market, what I'm observing from an executive and a board director standpoint as we head into the final quarters of the year. It's really, really challenging, and you would have seen in the press the announcement from ANZ to cut 4,500 plus employees. And other banks and other institutions followed shortly thereafter with their announcements. But even before the official announcements, there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of executives being released into the market. I've seen corporate restructuring like never before in the last few months, and it is only ramping up as we head into the end of the year. And what is really surprising to me is it is businesses that are in fact profitable, doing extremely well, and yet they're releasing hundreds and hundreds of people to the market. And they're not the juniors, they're often the mid to senior level executives also being caught up in the outplacement and the corporate restructuring. A very challenging time for a lot of executives, and none of us have a crystal ball. I was on a podcast the other day where some of the leading AI experts are predicting that we'll all be out of a job in a minute. And so that makes it really difficult from a career planning perspective where to go next. I still believe that there is a lot of merit in pursuing a career portfolio. So, not having all the eggs in the one basket, not being reliant on a single source of income, not working for a single employer, and having a number of areas in your life where you're commercializing your skills and experience. Whether that be you have a side hustle, whether you're tapping into the gig economy, whether you are building out a board portfolio, whether you're creating opportunities for yourself to commercialize your thought leadership, you have to be thinking 3 and 5 dimensional. You have to be really thinking about how you can create an ecosystem around yourself through your business networking, through your sales and business development endeavors, so that you can create these multiple sources of income. There's no doubt that the people who have multiple sources of income are going to do a lot better than the people who are literally being caught out and blindsided by these big corporate restructures. Because in my opinion, a lot of the people who are coming out in these waves of redundancies and the like are actually going to really struggle. The other piece of advice I would give you is that you really need to be prepared to eat some humble pie. I was speaking to a senior executive the other day. He had effectively been demoted. He was not being made redundant officially by the company, but he was being moved into a lesser role with much greater reduced responsibilities. But he was very fortunate in that the income was being retained and he was still able to go forward with that organisation. Now, when I spoke to him, he was very unhappy and really was ready to, hit the pavement and ready to go out to market. But I said, look, you really have to eat the humble pie because your employer is at least retaining your income status. You have plenty of time to figure out what comes next. Play the game internally, say what you need to say internally, until you're sure that you can find new employment. Now, with this particular individual, we'd been out on the hustings looking for new roles for quite a few months, and we still have not been able to land a serious recruitment process. We are not in interview stage. And so we're, 100 days out from the end of the year, and, you want to try and walk out the door where everyone else is being made redundant. Everyone else is being released into the market. Now, you've got to play the internal games really carefully. So don't be too cocky. Be really sure about where your value sits in the market. And don't be too quick to turn down that offer to be redeployed into another function within the business. You can always navigate into new positions. It might not be ideal to start with, but I would try and retain that income unless you have an incredible financial position. And most people, unfortunately, these days just don't have that buffer in place. Now, in the board director market, we are seeing some challenges there as well. We are seeing a lot of companies taking a good hard look at their board of directors and they're getting the passengers off the bus. people who are not adding value are being released from board directorships. Companies are moving towards smaller, nimble, more active boards, and they're definitely working more with the advisory boards. So people who are really rolling the shirt sleeves up, helping the business navigate the challenges, being a little bit more hands-on, a bit more forthright with their thoughts and opinions. So although there's a time and a place, obviously, for governance and good corporate governance, can drive fabulous results for businesses, but I'm seeing this leaning towards advisory board appointments, hot seat appointments, bringing in people to deal with specific scenarios and specific challenges. We will see some turnover of boards in the lead up to the end of the year. The other trend we're seeing is there's just a lot of not-for-profit opportunities available. I think you want to try and lean towards quality opportunities in that space, and there's been a real reckoning around remuneration. And we're seeing right across the board that conversation is being had about whether or not we should be remunerating our board directors going forward. So there are opportunities certainly to diversify, to pick up that extra source of income. But I think a lot of this comes back to mindset. We are in quite literally volatile times, the VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain. There's a lot of international pressures. Our economy is in the doldrums. So all of those factors are all coming to pass. We're coming into the final stretch of the year. My strong advice would be to listen to Mark Bouris. He was saying, put the put the foot down, don't ease off. This is the time to really try and make hay. You've got a solid amount of time. You've got 3 solid months before the Christmas holidays start to kick in. Australia already has plenty of holidays, so it's a good time to really think about what you want from 2026. Get your plans in place, get your hustle on if you are in the market. And of course, if you've been made redundant or affected by corporate restructures, book into my diary for a complimentary career assessment. I'd love to try and assist you so that you can recalibrate and come into the new year with a really solid career game plan. And hopefully part of that will be about developing a career portfolio of activity and diversifying those income streams, which I think are going to be crucial in the years ahead.